Ever wanted to try Sage but found yourself thinking all these words are Greek to me? Look no further, because if I can read them, so can you. Don't worry, we'll use lots of pictures. I won't claim to be a Sage on the cutting edge of content, but I've taken it into several savage fights and plenty of X-trials, dungeons, etc. I have summited the great hurdle of memorizing its bright blue buttons and now come down from Mount Olympus to pass that knowledge to you. The obtuse spell names and strange job mechanics are a lie. Sage is the second simplest of all 4 healers behind only White Mage. Let's unravel the threads that have led you to think otherwise and cover the best ways to use Sage's kit. I'll put chapters below for ease of review or targeted learning. But quickly, what are the job strengths? It has great personal damage, very strong mitigation, a smooth gameplay flow, and the only mobility spell on a healer. If you want to be the coolest kid in the symposium, you couldn't do much better than bringing 4 glow sticks and a laser beam. Fast disclaimer, while we're easing into Sage with a focus on casual content like dungeons, much like in my White Mage guide, a lot of these principles will scale into harder 8-man stuff too. As always, let's start with the healing part of the job. Your most consistent source of healing is Cardia, but this needs a little elaboration. People trying out Sage day 1 of Endwalker were in for a nasty surprise when they thought this would do all their healing. Yes, it's fire and forget, but if you forget to do anything else, your tank will die. Cardia is just a replacement for Scholar's Fairy, a reliable source of minor, steady healing for a job kinda weak in direct heals. Over the course of a fight, it will do a lot and it should always be applied, but we need to get comfortable with our other tools. Your job is more about minimizing party damage, not fixing it. You don't want to be bucketing water. You want to prevent the ship from springing leaks. You do this by slamming up extra boards whenever the ship's about to hit a wave. Let's start with the tools logged behind the personal job resource, Addersgall, as these are your building blocks. Every 20 seconds, you gain 1 Addersgall, stacking up to 3 total charges. Unlike Scholar, Sage has no way to burn this job resource on damage. It can only be spent on these 4 abilities. They are how you stay ahead of the healing curve. If you misuse your Addersgalls, then your tank is going to trend toward death, and this is a terrible situation for a Sage to be in. But don't worry, these spells are actually simple and their insane effects will keep a run smooth. I prefer to think of them in pairs. First, Caracole, the #1 spell that makes Sage competitive. It offers everyone within 15 yalms a 10% flat damage mint and a decent regen on a very short 30-second cooldown. 10% may not seem like much if you're new, but remember, that's going on top of a tank's own defensive tools and your other heals and mit too. Well, except for this one. These effects don't stack. While Caracole is Sage's AoE mit spell, Toracole is the single target sibling. It does the exact same thing as Kara, giving 10% mit for 15 seconds, but only on a single target, and rather than a regen, it offers a chunky direct heal. These two make up the mit Addersgalls, and despite not stacking, they play very well together. Again, look at the cooldowns. Sage is an active low CD job, and these two spells show us why. Say you use Kara to give the tank 10% mit. Well, when it falls off, you can throw on Toracole to heal and put on a new 10% mit, and when that falls off, Kara will be back off cooldown. Chained like Kara, Toro, Kara, these two spells alone provide 45 seconds of constant coverage, 2 regens, and a nuke heal. This hints at the crux of Sage gameplay, cycling cooldowns and linking tools together to make a chain of mitigation that can drag the party across the finish line. We also have 2 regular heals with Addersgall. Much like their mit-focused cousins, these come in an AoE and single target flavor. Ixicole is a decent 15 yalm party heal on a 30-second cooldown. Especially in harder content with bigger, more frequent raid wides, it can help shore up the defenses by topping people off. Druocole is the single target variant. With 600 potency, it does a decent job of propping up collapsing health bars, hopefully long enough for you to slap more mid on. But truthfully, if you find yourself pouring many Addersgall into Druo, something has gone terribly wrong. What makes Druo interesting is that it is the only Addersgall spell without a cooldown. Why is this important? Mana management. Sage, like every healer, has an MP hungry kit. On top of using Lucid Dreaming whenever it's up and you're below 8000 MP, it is absolutely vital that you don't waste Addersgall stacks on overcapping and instead refund them for 7% max MP. If you find yourself capping while better options like Toro or Kara aren't available or necessary, throw out a Druo for the mana. Next, let's cover your supporting heals or things outside the Addersgall family. We'll start with the most potent, the Haimas. As with the Addersgalls, you have a single target and an AoE variant of Haima, and again, you can do interesting chains with them. Let's make sure we understand how they work. Haima puts 1 initial shield on your target with 5 additional layers behind it, creating 6 total shields at a combined 1800 potency. When that first shield is broken, another one pops up behind it. Each layer must be broken individually, meaning one massive attack can't break all of them at once. If there are any layers left when the Haima buff expires after 15 seconds, they'll get converted into raw healing worth half their shield value. If that all sounds confusing, just remember, onions have layers. The good news is, if you understand Haima, then you understand Panhaima. It's just the AoE version of Haima with, consequently, a little less potency. Next, Physis and Hollows are the last of the real oGCD heals. Physis properly deserves a slot of its own. It's a 60-second CD that offers a solid AoE regen and increases everyone's healing received by 10%. This is a very important ability, but to understand why, we need to cover 2 concepts. First, pay attention to the language. There are 2 types of healing buffs in this game. Buffs to healing magic potency, which buff only GCD heals, in our case, something like Diagnosis, and buffs to healing actions, which includes everything, including oGCD abilities. This connects to the second thing, regen snapshotting. When a regen goes out, it checks for any buffs. If a party member has Physis' healing action regeneration buff, then that regen will tick harder. Note, this does not work backwards. Physis must already be out because targeted regens check for buffs only when they're applied. It's not really relevant to this video, but it's worth mentioning ground targeted regens like Scholar's Soil and White Mage's Asylum work differently. Anyway, moving on to Hollows. It offers a nice chunk of healing, a small HP barrier, and 10% flat mitt. Neat thing here, this mitt does stack with Kara or Toro Cole, or you could spread them out for longer coverage. To close out oGCDs, the pure utility stuff. These abilities are not heals in their own right, but boost or somehow help with healing. Soteria increases your cardia healing by 70% for 4 attacks. You get this at a very low level, and it's an amazing tool throughout the game. Zoe dramatically increases the healing potency of your next GCD heal. It will have no effect on any oGCD, meaning it has only a few viable candidates, none of which we've gone over yet. Pepsis effectively turns your current GCD shields into healing. It's kind of the equivalent to Scholar's emergency tactics, except inverted. The shields have to already be out. Whether it's only got a sliver or its full value left, Pepsis offers its moderate flat heal. Rhizomata gives you an instant stack of Addersgall and a 90-second cooldown. Like we talked about with Druocole, using Addersgall for MP is a very, very important part of Sage's mana economy, so Rhizomata should ideally be used on cooldown. And lastly, Krasis. Some of our shields scale off how much the heal does, meaning if the target takes a bigger heal, they'll also get a bigger shield. It also affects cardia healing and other people's heals on the target. Since we're getting into GCD heals, we have to talk about Eukrasia. People are sometimes confused about how the GCD works here. Eukrasia triggers a 1-second global recast, then the abilities it transforms trigger only 1.5 seconds of recast, meaning it still totals about 1 GCD to press both halves. However, with how animations and weaving work in this game, you will clip and delay your GCD if you try to weave after pressing Eukrasia itself. TLDR, you can only get 1 clean weave in during a Eukrasia action, and that's after the second part, the actual spell. Anyways, the transformed abilities are similar to, but different from, their normal forms. Diagnosis, your single target generic heal, becomes Eukrasian Diagnosis, a smaller instant heal that also puts an HP barrier on someone. If it crits, it adds a second layer to the barrier, doubling it. It's a reskin of Scholar's Adlo. Prognosis, your generic AoE heal, becomes Eukrasian Prognosis, an AoE heal and shield. It's Scholar's Succor. You can use spells like Zoe and Physis to increase the size of the shield since it does scale with healing done. This can be useful if you know the party is about to take a lot of damage, though again, this is more of an 8-man content thing since dungeons tend to be a little milder. Speaking of damage, let's go over ours. The final Eukrasian transformation is Dosis, which turns your single target DPS spam into a traditional 30-second dot. On bosses, keep it applied at all times, but on trash pulls, only apply it while you're on the move, then don't bother refreshing after the tank comes to a stop. That'll be a DPS loss because you have more potent things to press. Wrapping up Eukrasia real quick, Toxikon, which is apparently not a gaming convention but a DPS spell. It requires Addersting to use, represented by these 3 bottom markers on your job gauge. You gain Addersting only when your Eukrasian Diagnosis shield breaks. Note that Toxikon is on the GCD, so spamming E-Diags for Toxikons is actually a DPS loss over just pressing 2 doses. However, it does offer decent AoE damage and is an instant cast. You'll always start with 3 free Adderstings at the start of every instance, and we'll cover how to efficiently get more later. But for the most part, when there are 2 or more targets, you'll be spamming Dyskrasia. It is pretty much a copy-paste of Scholar's Art of War. You stand in the middle of the pack and spam it. Your real cannons are these, your 2 stacks of Phlegma. Don't. Unique to Sage, you have a DPS spell on a charge system, and whether single target or AoE, this spell is a dramatic damage gain over our other options. Anyways, it doesn't have a massive cast or effect range, so try to be close to the pack and make sure the mobs are well grouped. The Laser Beam, worse known as Pneuma. This is a tricky spell to categorize, and is more properly grouped under heals. It's a fun looking spell, but its damage is not actually particularly impressive. It's worse in AoE than Phlegma, though it beats out Dyskrasia and Toxikon, and on single target, it deals the same damage as your generic Dosis. However, it comes with a very nice 600 potency heal that, with Zoe, can become a 900 potency nuke. It's almost a raid-wide benediction. It's certainly Sage's best recovery tool, but it isn't as cool as it seems. Life sucks. Let's summarize and bring it all together now. Make sure Cardia starts on your tank and then pre-shield them with Eukrasian Diagnosis before every pack. Not only is the shield nice, this is how you gain your damage-free Adderstings without sacrificing a GCD you could have spent on DPS. Next, dot every enemy you can before the pull comes to a stop. If the tank has gotten ahead of you during the pull, via either sprint or gap closers, Icarus to them. Famously, Icarus flying close to bright red circles went swimmingly, but the less time you spend walking, the more time you can spend casting, and your AoE requires you to be in the pack anyway. Once all the mobs are grouped, spend your GCDs on Phlegma stacks and Dyskrasia spam, weaving in your oGCD mitts and heals. Again, always start with Physis. It should be up for every pack, and as we discussed earlier, it lays a great foundation for the rest of the pull by boosting your Kara regen and Cardia healing. After Physis and Kara are out, bring in Pneuma. It's a longer cooldown, so you'll want to spend it on an early pack, that way it's up for another pull later, giving you maximum uses in every dungeon. If it's on CD, aka the next pull, use Pneuma instead. Even if the efficacy is a little lower on a single target, why let it sit there wasting away? No trash pulls are going to deal raid-wides anyway, so everything can and should should go toward tank maintenance. Likewise, cycle to Toracole when Kara is about to fall off the tank, and you can comfortably use Soteria pretty much on cooldown to keep the tank just a little healthier. These last tools are potentially getting into overkill territory if paired with all above, but you should of course use them and they can plug gaps in your mid. For example, Holos can be used after Haima expires without needing to spend Pan. That way, it's up for the next pull. Holos' versatile three-pronged benefit can really prevent the tank from taking a lot of damage. Something like Krasis can be used as a replacement Soteria since it boosts all your healing, including Cardia ticks. And then Zoe Pneuma offers an AoE Sage benediction that also happens to deal good AoE damage. You can probably tell that last part was not as concrete as the first, and for good reason. Asking for a universal healer plan is like asking how long a piece of string is. It depends. But here's the hard part about Sage. If you find yourself desperately throwing all your resources at a dying tank, it's already too late. You need to be proactive. This takes experience, so you will get it wrong at first, and that's fine. But it should never come down to GCD heal spam. Obviously use them if it's life or death, but while spamming regular diagnosis might keep the tank up, you simply have far better options. If every tool we've discussed is on cooldown and it's still come down to bucketing water with GCD heals, things have gone horribly wrong. But so long as you're using all of your abilities sensibly, your tanks will live. 3 minor closing tips. 1. Cardia is not just for tanks and can be moved around leisurely. Toss it on a DPS if your tank is safe and someone else needs help, but remember to put it back after. 2. Make a cancel macro for Eukrasia. Don't send good GCDs after bad. If you misclick Eukrasia on accident or it turns out you don't need any of the 3 spells, bail out with this macro. You'll lose the 1 second from Eukrasia itself, but that's better than losing 2.5. You could also just click it off. 3. Because spells like Dyskrasia and Phlegma encourage you to be in melee range anyway, you may as well get used to healer autos. Yeah, they hit about as hard as you'd expect, but damage gained is damage earned, right? It works because your cast times are shorter than your GCD, meaning so long as you remember to actually initiate autos by right-clicking the enemy when you target them, your character will smack away, earning you a whopping like 3 DPS. It just kinda feels nice. Now get out there and wave your glow sticks. Thank you, bye.